Hello, and welcome to a preview for an exhibition that sadly is not going to happen. My name is Nicholas Cobb, and here I am in Cezanne's studio in Aix-en-Provence in the south of France, well, virtually there. And the exhibition, as you can see, was going to be at the Royal Academy, and I was greatly looking forward to it. I grew up admiring his work as a teenager without quite getting it. Sometimes you'd think, well, why is that building askew? Why on that apple has he left that part? Well, that's the highlight, but he's left it unpainted. Anyway, you get to art school, and I was there in the 1970s, and we went to Paris and saw an exhibition of his late paintings, and I was stunned. I brought the catalogue, and in it was a map. These were of the walks and the carriage rides that Cezanne would have taken from his home in Aix-en-Provence out into the foothills of Mont Saint-Victoire. So I wanted to get there, but it took me 35 years. And so over the last few years, I've gone back 4 times and photographed around the countryside where Cezanne painted. I use a dichroic mirror to get the strange effects of colour and spatial distortions. In this image, you can also see the striations in the rock made by the quarry workers. The quarry dates back to Roman times. Here's a view of the building in Bibimus Quarry that Cezanne was able to store his paint pictures and materials in overnight. So the other day I was a little bored, went online and researched what was going to be the exhibition highlight of the year for me, and found that it was put together by Princeton Museum in America. So you can download the details of the exhibited work there and see just exactly what you won't be able to see here in London. There's a couple of videos, and they're well worth viewing to get a feel for what was going to be in that exhibition. And so the exhibition was the following pictures. It's possible to get reasonably good high definition reproductions of these works on things like Wiki Commons, and the exhibition list on Princeton website gives the details of each of these paintings. And this first group is from L'Estaque on the coast near Marseille. Then there's a group in Fontainebleau Forest, which is about 50 kilometers south of Paris. This is a detail of the previous picture of the forest in Fontainebleau. And I'm going to read here a little bit about what the art critic Meyer Shapiro has to say about it. The landscape is formed mainly by the obstructing ground, which is pathless and convulsed, a space with deep clefts and hollows in a dark purple haze. The obstacles force us to stand still, but we cannot look serenely. They impose their violence and restlessness upon us. This cavern space is the vision of a hermit in despair. Further pictures from Fontainebleau. So I photographed in Fontainebleau a few times, and there's a photographer there from the 19th century, mid-19th century, called Gustave Le Gray, and he's very important for some of his beautiful forestry photographs. So my picture here pays tribute to him. And my picture here pays tribute to Cezanne, gazing out over the forest. And now the group of pictures that were painted in Bibimus Quarry, which is a few kilometers outside Aix-en-Provence. No one's quite sure which way around this one goes, but this is the generally agreed version. And here with Mont Saint-Victoire behind the quarry. But in real life, you can't actually see the mountain from this viewpoint. When you stand there, you see rocks now rather covered in foliage. But this picture by John Rewald, his photograph, has been doctored, photoshopped as it were, in the darkroom in the 1920s. And he pasted in Mont Saint Victoire to make it look more like the painting. You can't see it from this viewpoint. And now the paintings that were made in the Chateau Noir, which is just below the ridge of the quarry of Bibermus, near Le Tollonnais village, outside Aix, where Cezanne would have gone and had his lunch after a morning's hard work painting away. There's now one of these photographs by John Rewald of the view, 1920s, so perhaps 20 or 30 years after Cezanne actually was there painting. He obviously made watercolours too of the rock faces. People aren't sure if this was down in the south of France or perhaps in Fontainebleau Forest. You can find that reddish soil in Fontainebleau. It's not certain it's a south of France painting. Cezanne never gave titles, and hardly any dates are there, so no one's quite sure about these things. And here we are back in Chateau Noir territory. Here's the National Gallery's picture of the dark woods. And it's pretty good, the website, the National Gallery, because it does show zoomed in detail of the individual brushwork. So that's always nice to see. Now the problem of these virtual viewings of pictures and not being able to see them physically in real life. So here's one reproduction found online. Here's the same painting. So there's a bit of an issue there about which colour is more faithful. I'm going to go for this one. Here again, one of these photographs taken 20 years after Cezanne would have painted this view. And here a detail. And with these watercolours, apparently Cezanne was known to have held a pencil in one hand and a watercolour brush in the other, and was quite happy to put pencil marks over the top of the watercolour marks. Here, the last picture from the exhibition. And here, up in Bibermus Quarry, not too lucky with the weather, but I'm there taking the photograph of my wife and Bernard and his brother-in-law. And so they would have been able to play up there just as Cezanne and Zola would have done in the 1850s as children. And my bed and breakfast host and his brother-in-law are breaking open rocks to find the fossils inside, which didn't amuse the tour guide at all. And finally, two of my photographs taken in Bibermus Quarry. So I hope you've enjoyed this quick presentation of an exhibition that sadly will never be. A great disappointment to me. But there we go. It's not going to happen. So thanks. Bye.